Jump in the back of the pickup truck and join us for a ride back to the good old days.
Are you telling me you built a time machine?
A nostalgic podcast based on entertainment and memories from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Come with us and revisit the best time ever. So jump on your BMX bike, pop a heavy metal tape into your Walkman, and hang on tight while you go back to the past with us.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hey all, welcome to Pastimes at 80s High. Got a great one for you today. I'm here again, of course, with Donald, Kevin, and Mark. How you doing, boys?
Excellent.
Yes. Fantastic, then.
Awesome. What we are going to do today is another decade series where we're going to do our top 10 albums from 1982. Our favorites, of course. But, of course, what we do when we do the decade series is we lead off with a little news story from that year. So we're going to kick it off to you today, Kevin, as you have the honors.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes.
As you're probably used to by now, I'm going to be a little bit long-winded here. I'm going to start and tell a story. I'm going to try to do it as quick. Yes, I'm sure you are. Almost as bad as my pauses. I'm going to start this news story from 1982 talking about a woman named Catherine Evelyn Smith, who is actually a Canadian woman that somehow got to know Levon Helm from the band when they were with the Hawks from Screamin' Jay Hawkins. And she actually kind of partied with the band, and Levon Helm, Richard Manuel, and Rick Danko, who were kind of legendary partiers. She kind of ended up like getting drugs for them, also gave birth to a child known as the Band Baby because she was apparently having relations with all of them. But it's rumored that the song The Wait, the very famous band song The Wait, references her. Later on, she hooked up with Gordon Lightfoot, and the song Sundown was supposed to be based on her.
Really?
And I only tell you that because later on, she became kind of a drug mule for Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood in their heyday. And she was hold on, don't give her kudos yet. So while she was drug muling and she was just basically the gopher for Keith and Ronnie, because I'm guessing they would get so elegantly wasted that they couldn't get their own drugs.
Right.
The Stones went on Saturday Night Live where she met John Belushi.
Yes.
And was later imprisoned for giving him 11 speedballs.
Judas Priest.
She was the woman that injected John Belushi, and he died, I believe, March 5th was when they...
Found him?
Well, yeah, they didn't announce it for like 6 days, so knowing exactly when his time of death is, I guess that's kind of indeterminate, but that was, March 5th, 1982. We lost John Belushi, one of the funniest human beings that ever walked the face of the earth.
Dear
Little
Lord.
chocolate donuts and a cigarette. That's how I win the Olympics.
Cheeseburger.
No Coke, Pepsi.
No Coke, Pepsi. I know. I just said.
Good one, Kev. Good one. All right, Mark.
All right. So it's ironic that you brought that one up because the next story I have is about Ace Frehley leaving Kiss, but he was very good friends with John Belushi.
Very.
And according, in Ace Frehley's book, No Regrets, he said that he had to convince John Belushi to get back on stage.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So anyway, it was obvious that Ace was disillusioned with the band. Once Peter left, he was always outvoted. I mean, he used to have Peter. I mean, many times Peter and Ace would vote one way, Gene and Paul the other way, and Bill Aucoin would be the tiebreaker. So, but when they did Music from the Elder, I think he had it, and he was obviously
he had the radish.
he had the radish, and he was absolutely getting out of control at this time as well with booze and all kinds of drugs and Xanax and all that stuff. But He unofficially left in June of 82. He officially left in December of 82. And it was after they did a promotional tour with Creatures of the Night. And he has stated many times that if they went into the studio at the time of Music from the Elder and did Creatures of the Night, he would have stayed in the band. And I often wonder, what would that album have sounded like with Ace on guitar? You know what I mean?
Awesome is how it would have sounded.
Yes.
With his solos, man.
So that,
awesome. Great one. Another thing, just to feed into both of yours there, is Ace used to hang out at Studio 54 with Belushi a lot too.
Right.
Which is really cool.
That must have been fun.
That had to have been. I mean, if there's ever a time in modern history of a party that you would just want to be a fly on the wall at, I mean, it was like Caligula. It was debauchery beyond from the things that I've read and seen. It was
absolutely
wild.
Man. All right. So on to me. Mine's going to be a quick one, and
why? Because Mark and I were 45 minutes.
No, just because it's not so much a news story. I'm just taking it because I could not officially put this album on my list. So, on June 15th, 1982, of course, which is the year we're doing, Kiss released their album Killers.
The Warped album.
The Warped album, yes.
Don't put vinyl in the trunk.
No. So anyway, this album was a compilation album, but there were 4 brand new songs on it, and 3 of the 4, I mean, I love all of them really, but 3 of the 4 are 3 of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. So that's how I kind of snuck this in. All right. So do you, Donald?
All right. So unfortunately, I have to highlight another tragic event, and that was the death of one of my favorite guitar players, rock guitar players, was Randy Rhoads.
Oh, yeah.
Which occurred on March 19th, 1982 in a plane crash. And I didn't really, know a lot about this event. I remember, I got into Randy Rhoads during the Randy Rhoads tribute album, which was about 9 years after the event.
Yes.
And I didn't know all the details of it. Well, looking into this, it was the bus driver of the band who had an expired pilot's license. And it sounds like they were just going out for a joyride. It wasn't like they were going from one show to another show. They were just up fooling around and strafing the tour bus, trying to wake the guys up in the tour bus, and clipped a tree and crashed into a house. And it's like, man, what a
waste.
Mistake.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He was one of the most incredible guitar players I've ever heard.
Incredible.
Yeah. And
probably
within the top 5 in history, I think.
So the bus driver's name, and I don't mean to, shit on him,
no,
post-mortem, but his name was Andrew Aycock. Am I pronouncing that correctly? It's Aycock, and the guy was Aycock.
Yes.
We're getting in a plane with an expired license, and having been kind of a enthusiast of aviation, I like looking on TikTok of aviation stuff, and it's like when you get behind a plane, it's like one of those things you don't screw around.
You don't fuck around, man.
If you're a jet jock for the U.S. Navy Top Gun, sure, you do a couple barrel rolls or whatever.
Right.
But you're well trained in how to do that. Right. You're not someone who has been, driving a tour bus for a rock band.
Wow,
that kind of thing.
Stupid.
Not a half measure kind of thing.
And Rachel Youngblood was like a young, makeup artist for the band, and she tragically was on that too. So
I always wondered if it was Randy in the plane or if they were crashed into by the plane.
I believe Randy was in the plane.
He was in the plane. And ironically, he had a fear flying, and it was in the morning, so it was probably hey, let's do this.
They were probably fucked up.
Probably still, still intoxicated. I thought it was like on an estate somewhere. They were in between. It was like somebody's big.
It was the rich guy that lived abutting an airport. So the rich guy's plane, and the bus driver took it for a joyride.
Fucked everything.
Yeah.
Which is really, and I hate to be dark, but sad that they could have taken Sharon.
Right.
Right.
Oh, God.
Take Sharon.
Yeah.
Leave Randy. Right. I mean, he did. He's the classical stuff that he did that affected the music that we listened to for the next 20 years.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
right.
the things that he was playing and the style, the approach. I mean,
imagine what would have come out.
How many of the guitarists that we loved growing up would have had a nylon string acoustic
Right.
in their,
Right.
Collection,
in their
right.
collection if it wasn't for Randy Rhoads?
Yep.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
true. All right. So we're going to lead it off with you, Kev, for your number 10.
Oh, heck. All right. Number 10. I'm going to go with number 4. That would be Toto 4 or Toto IV.
Thought you were going with Foreigner again.
Again?
Like,
Oh, my
wrong
God.
year.
You did that
We
already.
already did that album.
Oh, jeez.
So not a ton of hits off this album, but more of respect to the band and who the players were, and you'll hear from them again on my list somewhere. But the big hits, obviously, Rosanna and Africa. I mean, mega hits.
Sure.
But Steve Lukather turned into one of those guys that pretty much every song that you've ever heard, he had something to do with.
Absolutely.
He's like the guitarist for everybody. And then, of course, the Porcaro brothers, who were just amazing as well. And just a great couple of hits off a really solid album. And that's my number 10.
There it is. All right. So
That's
do you,
all.
Mark?
Alrighty, Duran Duran, Rio.
Yes, sir.
They did the title track, Hungry Like the Wolf, Save a Prayer. But one thing I want to say about Duran Duran back in the day, a couple things. First of all, their videos were really entertaining.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
They were very different, if you will. And, and another thing I want to say is back then in the early 80s, I think that it was, Donnie, you kept saying 84 was the best year for comedies.
Comedy. Yeah.
Comedy
I think
movies.
it was 84. It might have been 82.
84.
Was it 84? Okay.
And
Go on.
Shows you how good my memory is.
But I mean, like with the Thompson Twins and just all these great pop groups, Culture Club. I mean, it was a great time for pop music, and I can't.
absolutely.
It's unlistenable today.
Like an
Unlistenable.
explosion.
Crap,
and
all
fake.
produced, overproduced.
I think it's listenable.
Yeah. It's,
What's that?
I'll
Today?
push back a little bit. Yeah.
Today,
Ooh,
like what?
All right, Donnie, you are thrown out of the
Like what?
podcast.
but
You
but
go
anyway,
sit out in the sun.
I'm in
Oh, wait,
I'm in
you're
the
already there.
spotlight.
I really like
baking
this
over
band. I like them a lot. I'm not ashamed to say that. So,
Hell no.
all right.
All right.
You might have been in 1982, but nowadays we're much more chill.
Yeah. And just what I was saying about the pop today is that none of them sing anymore. They fucking all lip sync. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
infuriating. I
think
mean, there's a
maybe
few,
we
of course.
misunderstood. I was saying back then, the pop back then.
Oh,
I
I
thought
thought
you were
today.
saying today. It
No.
was awesome.
Oh,
back
yeah,
then.
all right.
We
that's
loved
what I'm
We
it.
thought you were talking about
Oh,
today. You
I'm
said
saying-
what I was trying to say,
Listening to
Donnie.
the old 80s stuff now is like amazing.
Fuck
Oh,
yeah. That's
absolutely.
what Mark was
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we agreed to agree. That's
Right,
what
right.
That's right. Okay. All right.
We've come to a compromise and we agree to agree.
Yeah.
All right. So number 10 to me. And this one, you guys might not even know, but very influential band. And this is a band called Anvil.
Yes.
That was
And
way
it's
up there. On
Metal on Metal
Nice.
is the name of the album. And what a fucking rockin' album this is. Just, I mean, you got Mothra on it. You got Tag Team on it, which is such an amazing riff. But if you ever get a chance out there, everyone, check out the Anvil video of Metal on Metal live in Japan. And it's just fucking awesome. But one other thing I wanted to talk about it, other than just their influence that they had on so many musicians, is there is a heart-wrenching documentary on them.
Yes.
And it's so worth watching, so well made. It's actually helped the you know, the people that are still alive. I think a few of them have passed, but
Right.
you know, but I think it's helped them. They're probably making more money now than they ever did, but it's just to watch them like go from gig to gig and just making zero money and
it's like
taking
Spinal
cabs.
Tap. Yeah, it's like Spinal Tap if it was real and sad.
Exactly. It's fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's a great documentary.
So well done. Absolutely. So number 10 to you, my friend.
All right. So number 10 to me is going to be Chicago 16.
Yeah.
Which was released in June 7th, 1982. And again, I just love the cheese. You know, that's why I love this time frame, 1982. It seems like there was a lot of it.
Yeah.
So it was like prime cheese time.
What is your favorite cheese?
Oh, man, I like Gouda. I like...
All right.
From under.
Yeah. I mean, Gouda's great because you can melt it. And
I like
great
Swiss,
for mac
but-
and cheese, you know, but a home mac and cheese.
Cheddar's
But
good.
anyways,
Back to
Did
this.
did this turn into the delicious dish?
Right.
And so my wife always makes fun of me because I like cheese music. I like cheese movies. You know, I like the stuff that, you know.
If it's got heart,
Love me tomorrow.
if it's got heart, you know what I mean. If it's well done,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's funny though because Chicago was not originally a cheese factory.
No.
It was an amazing band.
Yeah.
And you were talking about documentaries. There's a documentary about Tom Cath, who was the guitarist who started Chicago, who Hendrix said was the greatest guitarist he knew.
Yeah.
Sadly, played a little bit of Russian roulette and offed himself mistakenly. But amazing individual as well.
Yeah. All right. So we are to our number 9. To you, Kevin.
Number nine. Number 9 would be "Eye in the Sky" by Alan Parsons, and most people would be like, "Who? What?"
I know
if
exactly
you
who
ever saw
you're
a
talking
Bulls basketball game, or now every basketball game, right? That music they come out to in the beginning is called "Sirius." That's the intro to "Eye in the Sky." But amazing, Alan Parsons was actually the sound engineer for not only the Beatles but Pink Floyd.
Yes.
And so then he formed the Alan Parsons Project, which was basically he kind of put a group together or brought people in and out of the group to do different things. But some of the most amazing recording, I remember the first CD I got, there's a song called Games People Play, and there's like a fucking drum crash that was like, oh my God, that's just like the clearest, amazing sounding thing ever. He was a genius.
Awesome. You always get the good, rare ones that I don't even think of. So that, which is going to be great
'cause
for
I'm a
me
freak.
learning some
I
new
really
music.
liked his voice too.
Some
He had
new
a great
old
voice,
music,
I thought.
you know? All right. So number 9 to you, brother.
All right. Well, this one, I don't know if you guys are going to have it higher up than I do, but probably the number 1 selling record of all time, Michael Jackson's
is.
Thriller.
Yeah.
Before he really went down a bad road. But at that point, actually a good looking guy, great songs that are still played constantly today.
Timeless.
Songs like obviously Thriller, Beat It, Billie Jean. Gotta be starting something, wanna be starting some. You know, just
Yes.
so iconic. We even bought the album. I mean,
Hell yeah.
I'm surprised that me and David would have done such a thing. But and Beat It, Eddie Van Halen played. Obviously, that was a great solo he did, and Paul McCartney was involved in the song.
And Steve Lukather.
The Girl Is
Can't say
Mine.
the name.
So,
Damn it.
but I mean, it was.
Lukather.
Yes. That's
I mean, it just went ballistic. I mean, millions upon millions upon millions of copies.
70, I believe, which
Yes,
is 7
70.
times diamond. Unbelievable. 70 times.
34 times platinum, I think, was the
But diamond is 10 million. So,
Right.
yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, just amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to him after that, but
Ugh. All right. So great pick, Mark. Thank you. Damn it. Anyway, my number 9 here is, I don't have a lot to say about this album, but it's Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. And
Hulk Hogan's original music when he turned face.
but it's just that one song to me was so powerful and so meaningful and rocky and everything. It's just been used over and over, and it's fucking kick-ass. And their ballads on the album, they're just a great ballad band, in my opinion.
Oh, yes. The Search is Over.
That's one of my favorite ballads of all
Great
time,
song.
which is not on this album,
Right.
but still, just an incredible album, and that's all I'll say. So
Well,
number 9 to you, Donnie.
Let me just inject here that 1984 Valentine's Day was my first concert ever, and it was REO Speedwagon and Survivor.
Nice.
So as much as they were known, aside from Eye of the Tiger, as much as they were known for being that ballad band, I can tell you, those guys kicked ass.
Fuck
did.
yeah.
They were no softies.
Nice.
Maybe in the studio, but on stage,
They were awesome.
they were awesome.
Oh, such good times back then. Right, Donald?
So kind of going back to what Mark said, like I'm last this round, and pretty much 6 of my picks have already been picked.
Me too. I'm right there with you, buddy.
So that shows where we're going here. But
And not only that, but Mark also said every bit that was in my notes for 2 of them. So,
Well, you know,
yeah,
hey, that's why
No.
you're
Hey,
lucky
pick
to
a
go
better
before
seat
me.
next
Yeah,
time.
right?
eventually you'll get back to the top again.
But go on. I mean, I think that's going to happen a lot.
we'll just we'll bring
Please
him back.
proceed.
We'll bring it back. And for this one,
No, it's fine.
this song is a song that you could basically, if you were in a band and your lead guitar player went out, you could just say, "Hey, you come up here, teach them how to do it." Just say, "Play this." And just repeat it, and they'd have no musical training and probably be able to do it. And that's "Bad to the Bone" by George Thorogood. I mean, it's the most classic, Roadhouse blues song. It was everywhere in
So
the 80s.
good.
It's a simple, it's a da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na. I mean, like I said, you could pull somebody out of the audience and say, "Hey, just do this. Just keep doing this. Watch me for the changes."
I was going to say, Smoke on the Water didn't come out in 82.
Right. But just, classic 80s music that's fun. And it was something that you heard everywhere.
Yeah, that was definitely a massive, massive song. And you
Yeah.
can't even really say album. I mean, there are a couple other tracks. I actually
Right.
own the album. There was a couple other tracks on there that were fun. Is that the one where he did the cover of Maverick, the Maverick theme?
Yes.
Possibly, which was kind of,
Yeah.
kind of fun. But the video with the in the pool hall, and he
And that's,
flicks his cigar and the eight ball sinks.
that song just screams pool hall,
Oh, yeah, it
house,
does. Yeah.
smoke-filled
Yes.
room. Yeah.
Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great pick, too. Now, that is the name of the album, too, right?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back
I
to
just
bone.
wanted to make sure
Yeah.
we didn't miss that.
George Thorogood and the Destroyers.
The Delaware
yeah.
Destroyers, just me and the Delaware Destroyers
Yeah.
sitting at the bar.
And looking at that, it was, George Thorogood and the Destroyers. I feel bad for the Destroyers.
Right.
Because no one would ever recognize them in a mall or
Yeah,
anything like
name
Right.
somebody from
that.
the
Right.
Destroyers.
The E Street
Right.
Band.
Which
or,
could be a good thing, really, if
yeah.
you think about
Well,
it.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a
there's-
couple other bands that I was thinking of that.
Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's like it's
know
cool
zero Amboy Dukes.
because you're making good money, you're touring, you're playing in front of thousands of people, but yet nobody knows who the hell you are.
Right.
You're a very talented musician, more than likely, and it's
Yeah.
just, it's kind of like
Eddie
the-
Trunk was talking about the other day. Was it Billy Gibbons that shaved his beard and
Nobody knew who he was.
nobody knew who he was exactly?
And there's huge bands that like people don't know who the drummer is or who the bass player
Yeah,
is. And
absolutely.
they're
That's
just
a pretty
back
good-
seats.
That's
So
a good
true.
idea, though.
But that's not a terrible place to be.
No.
I mean, unless you want to be
Right,
in
if
the
you
spotlight.
want-
And
exactly.
Usually, if you're a bass player, you don't want to be in the
Right. You
spotlight
can
unless
cruise
you're
out
Sting.
in town and go grocery
Yeah,
shopping, not have to worry about
exactly.
being bothered all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're still making a good paycheck, and
I've seen John Hyatt, who I still believe is one of the greatest songwriters of our time, in downtown Laconia at the Colonial Theater twice in the last 2 or 3 years, and he tells stories that he walks around the city
Nice.
because
yeah,
99.9% of the people
Have
No fucking clue. Who's
right?
that old guy? I don't know. He just wrote great songs.
So, all right. So we are at number 8, Kevin.
Number 8. So what happens if you take the keyboard and the guitarist from a huge prog rock band and then a singer bassist from another huge prog rock band and then the drummer from another huge prog rock band?
I don't know, Kevin. Tell us.
You get Asia.
You get Asia.
A band that comes together and writes fucking hits.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. Jeff Downes and Steve Howe from Yes. John Wetton from King Crimson and Carl Palmer from Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
And we would scream together songs unsung. It was the heat of the moment, telling me what my heart meant. The heat of the moment showed in your eyes.
And those guys were fucking, I mean, obviously they knew what they were doing, but you had Heat of the Moment, Only Time Will Tell, Soul Survivor, Your Wildest Dreams. I mean, those songs were all like, again, unavoidable at that time, and all great songs. And they took that extended prog rock kind of, I don't have a 45-minute attention span to listen, and they cut them down to 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And they were on the radio,
It's
and they
cool.
got fucking paid.
Album,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, great album. And if you don't know it, then you weren't alive at that time.
Right.
Right.
Oh, I absolutely remember all those songs.
Awesome. All right. So, Mark, we're going to go number 8 to you. So, could you please pick another one higher up on my list?
Okay, I will do it. Scorpions, Blackout, and you know, some of it is a little bit of fatigue. You know, No One Like You is played constantly. Blackout is a good tune, and my favorite song on the record is When the Smoke Is Going Down.
Yep.
And great song, Klaus Meine. How do you pronounce his last? Klaus
Minor.
Minor.
I think it's Minor.
Oh my God! The
That's
best
already
voices, the best voices in rock history. I think. I mean, one of them. I didn't say the
very
best. I
unique.
said
Oh, no, definitely.
Very
Yeah, absolutely.
unique.
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
strong. Very, very strong.
I just remember him at Monsters of Rock saying, "We are going to get electrocuted. I must leave the stage." And I'm like, "Fuck you!"
That was one of the greatest days of our lives.
Yeah.
Most miserable day of my life.
And I'm
Yeah.
gonna.
Oh, you
We
were
had
there?
some misery
Mark,
at
do
that
you have
concert.
anything else to say about this album?
I'll let it
Good.
go.
So my number 8 is Scorpions Blackout. So I'm just gonna continue. Yes, those songs are all awesome. Definitely a unique voice. Kevin's talking about Monsters of Rock. This was 1988 in Oxford Plains, Maine.
Speedway.
Yeah,
No
at the
shit, I don't
Speedway. And what a great lineup. I mean,
Awesome
Van
lineup.
Halen was on it. Metallica was one of the opening bands just after Dokken.
Why didn't you guys
It
invite
was
me? Why
fucking-
wasn't I? At
We
the
did. Anyway.
Damn it!
Poured.
It
Just pouring rain the entire day. What Kevin's talking about is the Scorpions had to come off the stage because they were almost struck by lightning.
I
Go
have
ahead.
to stop you because that wasn't my big beef that day. The problem was there was one fucking road in and one road out of this tiny
Yeah, it took forever to
speedway in
get
Oxford,
there.
Maine.
Yeah.
Took forever. I literally installed a car stereo in my car
on
Literally.
95.
on the main turnpike.
You actually did.
Yes, we sat in traffic for 4 hours before that road moved because we got separated from the lead car that had all the beer.
Oh my God, Kevin! What the hell were you thinking?
We drove and drove and drove and drove, going, geez, there's cars parked on the side of the road.
Trip there.
And I was like,
I don't think we were drinking.
should we
anything,
stop
but-
here and just walk? Now let's go a little further. Should we stop here and just walk? We went another 10 miles. Then we parked the car and walked another 5 miles to the show. After all of this, we finally get in. And then, as AJ was telling you, Klaus came out and said, "We are going to get..." I'm like, fuck you, stand there and get electrocuted, asshole. Look what I've been through.
So what I learned about that concert is 1, price gouging, and 2, like sometimes it's okay to pay the price gouging price.
Yeah.
So
You're talking
it was
about a
downpouring rain.
You're
and
going
some
to take
dude-
my story, but go
Oh,
ahead.
you have a story? I'll allow you to.
Well, I just wanted to do the trash bag story.
Right, and that's what I was going to say.
Well, it's your turn,
Some
AJ,
dude
get at
was
it, man.
selling trash bags, basically,
You can
raincoats
take it over, Donald. It's okay.
for $5. And
Yeah.
we were like, I am not buying a trash bag for one trash bag.
Oh my god!
But it turned out to be probably one of the greatest purchases.
The greatest purchase I've ever made in
'Cause I
my
went from
Talk about
fucking
an
I
life.
entrepreneur.
went from
man.
being miserable to being like quite happy
Warm,
instantaneously. Yeah.
dry, the bag held in the
Right.
moisture
The
and
heat,
warmed
yeah.
us up. But
Yeah.
it was you, me, brother David, God rest his soul, and VJ. And Mark, you were invited. I don't know why you couldn't.
I don't
make
remember
it.
that. 88 was a very uneven year for me. I don't. I really don't know. I went through the whole anger phase there for a bit, but
So my number 8 was Blackout. So
Little side note about the guy that you guys bought the trash bag from. Later on, became the water guy at Woodstock '99.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All
Or
right.
the sandwich guy at, what was that, Coachella down in
Yeah,
one
right.
of the
Yeah,
islands? or
right,
whatever?
right.
That went really south. Yeah.
So number 8 to you, Donald.
All right. So all my picks are picked.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much
go
every
on.
single one of them.
Mine too. It's okay.
With the exception of a few. But anywho, number 8, I have Eye of the Tiger, Survivor. Rocky 3. I mean, that's just your classic. Like, you hear that tune, it's like,
Oh, you just can't
you
not
want to get up and
pumped.
start, shadow boxing.
well, see, that's why Hulk Hogan came out to that song.
Oh yeah,
Obviously,
Badass tune,
to state the obvious.
psych,
Yeah.
So good.
psych you right up.
Cool.
So
That's all I gotta say.
All right.
So that brings us then to 7.
7. Okay, 7 for me is Nightfly from Donald Fagen. His
Another
first
fucking deep cut.
his
here.
first solo album after leaving Steely Dan, which is kind of weird because Steely Dan wasn't really a band. It was Becker and Fagen and a few other rotating cast members. So not really like a band in that respect, but it got a lot of radio play. It was very well respected. IGY, good tunes off it, good solid jazzy, that Steely Dan, that Donald Fagen kind
Steely
of
Dan was
jazzy.
great.
Oh, absolutely. And all I wanted to add to it was that does anybody know who the first drummer for Becker and Fagen was in their first band in college, which was called Leather Canary?
I do not.
The drummer for Leather Canary is a fella named Chevy Chase.
Oh, no
wow.
way.
True
Interesting.
story.
Really?
True story.
Interesting.
The Chevy Chase.
The Chevy
The
Chase.
Chevy Chase. Yes.
So you brought up a good thing about like Steely Dan, former guitar player. Like 1982, it seemed like a year where a lot of people went solo
Yes.
or broke away from their bands. Like I'm just going to list some names, and I don't think I'm going to trounce on anybody's picks because it's not the albums, but I'm just going to use Peter Gabriel, Lionel Richie, Steve Winwood, Michael McDonald, Don Henley, Peter Frampton, Paul McCartney, Pete Townsend, Peter Criss, George Harrison, Phil Collins, and Sammy Hagar.
Glenn Fry, too, I think, had an album.
Right. I mean, there was more. I just kind of was jotting them down. I was going along. I'm like, holy, how many
Out of
solo?
control,
How many
Peter
people went
Criss.
solo?
That's my
this
number
year?
one.
Right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, again,
Terrible.
like I've mentioned in some of the other 80 and 81 that we've
Yeah.
talked about, there's a transition happening here. And you
Right,
start
right,
to
right.
see like certain styles kind of waning and like people have,
Yeah.
you can see the high water mark from some bands as they start to go down. And then you can see other genres and other bands
Climbing.
Yeah.
starting to climb and reach their pitch. So yeah, it's kind of cool that because like I looked at the Phil Collins one and it's like, yeah, there was some good tunes on it, but I don't know if that didn't make my list. But like the next album after that,
Right.
fucking
Incredible.
mega album.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Number 7 to you, Mark.
So, Donnie, you mentioned Glenn Fry, right? Well, my next record, number 7, is by a guy named Bob Bake. And,
That's a Mark joke.
That's
for you
a Mark
people
joke,
out
people.
there.
all right. No, Prince, 1999.
Yes.
Obviously, Prince, I think, is one of the most underrated guitar players.
awesome.
He's
Yeah.
incredible. He was just known for his showmanship more than anything. You have the title track, Little Red Corvette, obviously, Delirious. Great record, iconic.
Amazing record.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And,
Awesome.
that's my pick. So
Nice.
that's what I went.
Okay. Well, my number 7 pick is Billy Idol, his debut album. Just White Wedding on this was very meaningful to me, as Mark to my left and my brother David, God rest his soul, played that song constantly in their band White Lightning. You got Come On, Come On, you got Hot in the City. He was just very punk and very cool, and just being a friggin', 11-year-old kid at the time, I'd try to spike my hair like him, you know what I mean? I mean, when Rebel Yell came out, it was out of control. But he just very talented guy, still doing it today and doing it well. So that's what I have to say about it.
Well, funny, because Donnie was just talking about people that left bands, and he had just left Generation X, left them in London and moved to New York and started his solo career with one of their songs and took off. And also interesting that Steve Stevens, the guitarist for Billy Idol, was later stolen by Mark's pick, Michael Jackson.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
believe Dirty Diana was the one that he...
Well, number 7 is Billy Idol. So
Go on then, Donald.
probably one of the greatest snarls, I guess you would describe that.
Absolutely.
The dude's just got a great look. I love the movie. It's the Adam Sandler movie, Wedding Singer.
The wedding. When he's on the plane.
And that voice, man, I could sleep to that. He's like, hey, Billy Idol's voice was so cool, The dude was awesome.
Great
but
scene.
good power songs, good showmanship. I mean, that guy was pretty cool.
He took punk into rock and roll and combined the two, I feel like, and it was just fucking great. All right. So we're at number 6, Kev.
Number 6, I'm sure you guys, this is all on your list. Not. This is Missing Persons.
Did they find him?
This was, I don't think they've been found yet. So this was Terry Bozzio, who was the drummer for Frank Zappa, or one of the drummers for Frank Zappa.
There's a lot of Zappa this decade.
And Warren Cucurullo, who was the guitarist.
Say that fast.
Warren Cucurullo. Warren Cucurullo. And of course, Terry Bozzio's wife, Dale, who was like, she was Lady Gaga before Lady Gaga, way beforehand. And I took notice of them.
First one to wear the meat dress.
She came out on stage with clear plastic globes that were just painted black just enough so that you couldn't see
everything
to the mind's eye.
But she was also very talented, and they had some really great songs on that album, songs that I still like. Words, Destination Unknown, Walking in LA. Just a solid album, and it sounds, you listen to it today, it still sounds great, but it sounds like the 80s. It really is the keyboard sound, all of that. What I wanted to say about it, though, is
which is really before keyboards, like they probably originated it because they really start kicking in the future.
Exactly. But this was one of the bands that was formed because Frank Zappa, he ran his show kind of like it was a business but a school. And he would kick people out when he didn't feel like a musician had anything else to learn from them. He would kick them out. Famously, one of them was Lowell George, who started the band Little Feat. And that was Frank just looked at him and said, take your boxy little feet and get out of here. Start your own band.
Little Feat.
True story.
Frank's kids were getting active at this time.
Fred Zeppelin, yes. Yeah. Dweezil and Moon Unit.
Yeah. But was it Moonbeam?
Moon Unit.
Yeah.
Moon Unit.
Oh my God.
Great children's names.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Frank was an individual.
One of them has a great podcast called Rock Tales.
Is that Ahmet?
Ahmet, yeah.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yep. Great show, too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So number 6 to you, Mark.
All right, I have Night Ranger, Dawn Patrol.
Yes, sir.
How did I miss that? Go ahead.
I left it off mine because I knew you'd have it.
All right, well, there you go. So Jack Blades, he's the singer, and obviously he played with Damn Yankees. But one of my favorite songs of all time is Don't Tell Don't Tell Me You Love Me.
Yeah, great song.
Great. And Sing Me Away is an incredible song. Just,
Yes.
I love that.
I love the
one.
solo on that.
They're rocking.
There's a song called Night Ranger on the album.
Yes.
And, just an underrated band from back in the day.
Yeah, they
They're
never
fucking
they were
incredible
rocking.
band.
Brad
Rocking.
Gillis, no slouch.
They
on
never
the
really,
guitar.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
never-
him with Damn Yankees was amazing.
incredible.
Incredible band. Yep.
Incredible. Yeah. They weren't around for too long. They had Uncle
Well,
Ted Nugent.
Did that have something to do? Because didn't he leave to tour with Ozzy after Randy passed?
Yes, he did.
So which had to have like kind
Which
of
didn't last long. But,
No, it didn't last long, but it probably took a little of the steam away from
right?
the Night Ranger.
Oh, one thing I've
Juggernaut.
always said, and I will just say it again, but man, if Night Ranger, Styx, and Nugent did a shed tour, right? Or an arena tour, maybe, but maybe not that big, but just did a fucking tour together and then finished the night off with the Damn Yankees set.
Oh my God, that
Tommy
would have been
Shaw is
incredible.
one of my
Himself.
Incredible.
Like Tommy Shaw's one of my favorite musicians.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you ever see the version of the song? They call it the
okay.
they call it the angry young man song, and
No.
You're fooling yourself.
you're fooling. Yeah,
If
well,
you don't believe it. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, they
Styx.
did a version with an orchestra, and it was incredible. If you look it up, I mean, it's just amazing, and
I will look.
Yeah,
that up.
great song.
yeah, it was Tommy Shaw, and
Excellent.
Okay. Where am I? Number 6.
Yeah.
Well, I get to pick one no one's picked yet.
Really cool.
Imagine that.
That one doesn't count.
This one is called Under the Blade, Twisted Sister. All right. Released in
I'm not going to
September.
take this bullshit.
It's the one that they, I couldn't find a date on this one of the release, but just Bad Boys of Rock. The title track. I fucking love this album. It's before Stay Hungry, but to go back and listen to it, it's so rocking. And one of the things I love to think about with this, I've seen it so many times, but I'm sure you guys have too, but just to watch the court case with the PMRC.
with Tipper Gore.
Tipper
yeah,
Gore,
yeah.
and to watch him come in
And
with
they talk
that
about
fucking
censorship.
hair, and just incredible to see Dee Snider go in there, and I can't say his name right. It's Eddie Ojeda, the
yeah.
guitar player.
Eddie Fingers.
Yeah, I can never say it, but anyway,
Racist.
he wrote Under the Blade about Eddie Ojeda going into surgery, and because he had a very white coat syndrome, if you will,
Tell me
and
about
was
it.
scared to death of it, and that's what Dee Snider wrote this song about. And then fucking Tipper Gore was trying to talk about all its sexual innuendos and all that. And fucking Dee put that bitch into her fucking place. And it was incredible, as did Zappa,
As
and
did Frank,
especially friggin' John
Denver cinched it because
Yeah.
they all
Fucking
thought that he
On
was going
Denver
to
from the
turn.
top rope.
Yeah, exactly. They thought he was going to.
The
He was going to
snooker.
come out and be on her side.
Yeah,
probably.
because he wanted to go into space because he loved flying. Not enough to be sober while he flew his plane, but again, see how it's all tying back in. We got plane crashes.
Oh
we
my
got-
God, yeah.
But did that album have "You Can't Stop Rock and Roll" on it?
No.
Was that was a
That
different
would
one?
be You Can't Stop Rock and Roll.
Odd. I couldn't remember what the progression was prior to Stay Hungry. 'Cause-
I think that was next. After
so it's Under
This
the
one.
Blade, then
Can't Stop Rock and Roll.
and
I
then
think
Stay
so,
Hungry.
yeah.
Okay.
Don't quote me
Okay.
on that, but
I'm quoting you on that.
all
I'm writing
right.
it down right now.
So 6 to you, Donald.
And then you find yourself in 82.
That's the year I graduated.
Oh, it's Asia.
Yep.
This is Asia.
You fucking bastard. You've taken all my picks.
Fucking bastards. I love
You're
Asia.
busting my
for every reason you
Heat of
said,
the
it's
moment.
like it's the prog rock meets pop meets, 80s. Just,
Yeah.
as a child growing up in the 80s, it was like, man, that's a cool sounding song.
All right.
Only time will tell. I don't do that any justice.
All right. Great pick, though, Donald. All right. So that's number 5 to you, Kev.
Number 5, the band So Nice, they named it twice. Duran, yes.
Sir.
Mark has already brought this out. He's trumping everybody today, hasn't he?
Yes.
Nicely done. So we've talked quite a bit about Duran Duran and how great they were again, coming into that era, the sound of that time, but also just, style and video was all cool.
Incredible.
But also great musicians. If you ever get the opportunity, there's the isolated bass, you can look up on YouTube and you can find somebody's isolated guitar solo or whatever. The isolated bass John Taylor's playing will blow your fucking mind. You're like, I had no idea that was happening in that song. And it sounds, it as a song, but then you listen to it without any of the other, just the bass track. And you're like, it sounds like somebody just took a bunch of bass riffs and dumped them in a box and shook them up.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He is cool. A talented, insanely talented individual.
Awesome. Number 5 then to you, Mark.
All right. I'm sure somebody else should be picking this. They better be. The Clash. Combat Rock. You have Rock the Casbah. You have Should I Stay or Should I Go? Just an iconic song that is played by many cover bands. Know Your Rights is what starts the album on. Mm-hmm. And they were having issues within the band. Topper Headon was having heroin problems. Oof. That never happens, but just this band is a great punk rock band.
Fucking incredible band.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Should I Stay? Should I Go? Is that's my favorite mosh type of song. Not really a mosh, but
just a great
just
tune.
Bounce up and down, and
you guys did it.
Bump
Pogo.
into people on the dance floor.
Pogo.
Yeah.
Cellar Dwellers did it back before I ever joined.
Gotcha. Awesome pick.
Why, thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you, Kevin. My number 5 is Rio, Duran Duran, which is why I was giving you a dirty look, but just an incredible album, just an incredible band to me. Just to have that pop goodness back in the day. We've already discussed it over and over, but pop was fucking good. You know what I mean? It's just back then it was good.
You could listen to
any pop. Yeah, it was just fucking great.
The station that reaches the beaches. Remember that?
Yes.
Yep.
But just, Hungry Like the Wolf, massive, Save a Prayer, and Rio. We've beaten the horse. But that's my 5. So number 5 to you, Donald.
All right, I finally have one that no one picked. I'm excited.
It's gonna be my number 4.
So it's gonna be Picture This from Huey Lewis and the News.
Yes. I had a hard time cutting.
I cut it too.
And again, Huey Lewis and the News. I don't know anybody.
I don't know any of the news.
Well, there was that guy.
What station were they on, Donnie?
Right, but they were. Oh man, he can write some songs. They were great songs. I love Working for a Living, but Do You Believe in Love is just a classic too.
Yep.
Do you believe?
Yeah, the harmonies in the chorus are just.
What would you consider his genre?
Just rock,
pop rock,
pop rock.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
rock.
So an interesting thing, he had the News, right, and they had a sax player, but he also on this album had Tower of Power, who was an amazing funk fusion band, horn band, horn section kind of. So that was cool. That was in the album. I just love him. He was fun. He was the epitome of the 80s too,
He will definitely be around in the future picks. In the years to come.
Yes.
He will not be overlooked again on my list.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool that you brought up Tower of Power. I've probably talked about it on here before, but one of my absolute favorite bands. I got to meet them and kind of hang out with them for 5 or 6 years in a row.
That's
a friend
amazing.
of mine was a merchandiser for them, worked for Bill Graham Presents. One of the most underrated, like you say, Huey Lewis, but they played with Elton John. They played. There was a period there where if there were horns on a pop song
Right,
in that era, in
right.
this 82 to
Right.
90.
We need a horn section.
Plus,
Who are we calling?
You
Tower
got the
of Fire,
best.
baby.
You got the best.
Yeah.
You got Mimi and Doc and the whole crew.
Yeah.
Just fantastic, amazing musicians. And I'm probably going to ramble here for a second, but one of the first concerts I took my son to was this band 21 Pilots, who I enjoy their music, but they're, new generation. It's more about the production because it's a drummer and the lead singer plays a little bass and piano. So it was my son's first show. He loved the band. He was absolutely in awe. But I had to, in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, I need him to see what it's like to see a live band perform.
And that's the band to see.
Fortunately, it was coming up
Yeah.
that Tower of Power was at Hampton Beach Casino. So I took him there. We sat in the front row and I said to him, every sound that you hear tonight is coming from those
Them.
9 guys.
Coming from their lungs.
There's
coming from,
There's nothing
So
coming
fucking
in.
important.
This is
vibrates into your chest.
This
Yeah.
is 9 people making this
Yeah.
sound. Thank you for mentioning
Yeah.
some of my personal heroes.
Power of power.
Yeah.
And
Look 'em
number
up, people.
Where are we? 4. Sorry.
I'll try to keep it short. Well, we'll go from one of my heroes to another one of my heroes, and that would be Mark Knopfler, because my number 4 is Love Over Gold by Dire Straits.
Nice.
Who is just, the other guys in the band, obviously solid performers, but Mark Knopfler is, in my opinion, just a man of his own. He does something with the guitar that nobody else can do. A lot of that.
He's like the Randy Rhoads from Australia. He's from down under.
Well, he's a Geordie. He's from England.
England.
Yes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought
They kind of sound like.
He's from England.
I think a lot of it was he really looked up to Chet Atkins and people like that. So there was like almost a bluegrass kind of approach to the sound that, I said I wouldn't go long. There's a million stories about where they laid the microphone to get the sound for money for nothing.
It's the tone.
It's exactly. And there's like all they have, and nobody knows how to do it.
No.
Make that sound ever again. There's notes of like where the sound guy laid the microphone.
Guitar tuning is
on
really
the-
strange on that song.
Absolutely. But what an iconic riff. Has nothing to do with the album Love or Gold, though.
Right.
But still an amazing album and a band that was getting ready to hit their stride and become major.
Right.
Industrial
were
Disease,
just
you
warming
never
up.
hear anymore, but that was just such a great song, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, a little humorous. But,
song, right?
So, and I will end it there as I have taken up.
All right. Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Thank you.
And Mark,
Thank you very much.
Number 4 to you.
Mark, you pick somebody else's pick.
Happy trails
To you.
All
We're not going to do the whole tune.
right, Van Halen,
That would be
Diver Down,
cruel.
obviously. I wasn't going to put this one on my list until I refreshed the track list, and I'm like, wait a minute, I love that fucking album.
Yeah.
Where have all the good times gone? What a great song. They obviously, I believe 5 songs were covers on this
Yeah,
record.
definitely.
Pretty Woman and Dancing in the Streets. You have Little Guitars.
Love
Senorita,
Little
I'm in
Guitars.
trouble again.
Senorita.
Obviously, this is, 82. No shit, Mark.
Right?
So, David Lee Roth was not in the band much longer, but anyway, great record. Thank you.
All right.
And that was kind of the problem of what led to the breakup was that Roth wanted to do covers.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And,
In
and
his
with the
solo
exception
career,
of
too.
Dancing in the Streets, I love the ones they did. I just hate that for some reason. I don't like it.
I'm not a big cover guy either.
I'm not a big cover guy, but they didn't cover songs aside from that one that were big hits.
Right.
Like Where Have All the Good Times Gone? That wasn't a huge hit here.
People think
by the
it's Van
Kinks.
Halen.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
right,
It was a
accurate.
Kinks song. It wasn't huge here. But that's where a lot of the infighting was that Eddie wanted to go in his direction, do all original stuff.
Right.
And Roth was kind of afraid to let go of the sure thing.
Right.
He wanted to do stuff that was, tried and true, and he knew people would be getting into.
Interested note on David Lee Roth was actually a paramedic. You knew that, right?
Yeah.
Donnie?
I did. Yeah.
Yep.
and a climber
Man of
and
many hats.
and a
Can you-
ninja.
Can you
He's better than Forrest Gump.
can you imagine having a health episode in the
Right.
streets of New York and David Lee Roth comes up to revive you?
Hey, give me a bottle of D5W.
And a glazed donut to go.
And a glazed donut.
to go.
All right. Donald, I apologize.
Oh, you asshole.
Yes.
I know what you're going to say.
Iron Maiden,
That's
You
about the hair. Don't say it.
number
asshole.
of the beast. I apologize. March
How did
29th.
that wait that long? Good Lord.
Right.
Well, because it's to the top.
Yeah.
You know, this
all
just
good.
an incredible Iron Maiden album. God, Run to the Hills, the title track, Hallowed Be Thy Name, The Prisoner, friggin' Children of the Damned. I mean, there's pretty much not a bad track on this album. It's fucking amazing. They did Live After Death not long after this, one of the best live albums I've ever heard and seen. You know, great video. Of course, you cannot forget the album covers of Maiden.
Fantastic.
Just fantastic.
that
Did you ever
artwork.
see them in
Yeah.
concert, AJ?
Several times.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, back in the day. I haven't recently. I've really wanted to.
So I've seen him recently, and I've seen him back in the day, and it's just a fun show to go to.
Yeah.
I went to see
Yeah.
Ace Frehley warming up for Iron Maiden.
And it's so cool. Like you go to like down at Meadowbrook or whatever, Tweeter Center, whatever it's called now. And the guys, like the cab drivers and stuff will say, oh my God, I can't believe the country bands were in last weekend. They're such a pain in the ass. But like Iron Maiden's in town, everybody's respectful. You know, you got like these 50-year-old rocker
Right.
dudes who
It's metal music
know
with
how
a
to-
history lesson.
know how to handle their drugs and,
right?
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Got the chemistry down at
like
this point.
want to just have a good time, rock out, and then go home and not cause trouble. Not be
Right.
drunk in the streets and getting arrested and all that kind of stuff. So, but they're just fun. They're rocking. It's so cool to see.
It was a tough cut for me. but-
AJ, wasn't that the
Amazing band.
first album after they snagged Bruce Dickinson from Samson?
It was
that
his
was-
first album. Yep.
first album.
Correctamundo.
And was Nico there yet?
Not yet.
Not
no.
yet. He came the next
He's-
album, I think.
No, he came. He was one of the news notes in this year. So I think it's later in the year.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Awesome. Number 4 to you, Donald.
Cool. Well, I had these ranked higher, and you guys picked them earlier. Toto 4. I love this song. I love the Rosanna, Africa. I love their harmonies. Just amazing. I love these guys. So, I mean, I had them ranked higher, but
No problem.
Yeah.
That's
Those
great.
are great songs.
yeah.
All right, Kevin, let's see if you can't steal my number 3.
Not going to happen because everything I've got from here on out has already been
Chosen.
Mark already stole it. But I will start with once again that Rosanna actually written about Roseanne Arquette,
Yeah.
which is not hard to believe.
No.
So my number 3 would be again Combat Rock by The Clash, just because I absolutely love The Clash. I thought they were a fantastic band. I liked where they were coming from. You had mentioned at one point maybe Straight to Hell, which was it's been sampled by people since then, but just a great song. It's one of those tracks that actually you listen to it and you can understand why somebody sampled it just because of the way that it's produced. And you also mentioned a little bit of the infighting in the band, and that was the manager was trying to pit Joe Strummer against Mick Jones. He had Strummer convinced that they didn't need Mick Jones. Well, the thing was that Mick Jones was like the creative force behind the band. So the album they came out with after that, after the band kind of broke up and Strummer took the name and got a bunch of different musicians to come in, was called Cut the Crap. And it was just not anything. And that was pretty much the end of the Clash.
And this is correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't this their best-selling record ever?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They hit their apex and then it was done. It was over, and nobody ever achieved any kind of level of what was it? Strummer had the mescaleros, and Mick Jones had a little bit of success with Big Audio Dynamite, which was kind of, he started fusing punk with like what was going on with rap and sampling.
Gotcha.
And did some really cool stuff with that too, but it never got the commercial success that Combat Rock did.
Nice. All right. Steal my number 3, Mark.
Well, I don't think so, man. Maybe I am, but I might be a little bit long-winded on this record. It's Aerosmith, Rockin' a Hard Place.
Yeah.
And
Great.
to me, this is when Steven Tyler still had his edgy voice, sharp as a tack. Obviously, Jimmy Crespo and Rick Dufay were in the band because Joe Perry had, he left when did the Joe Perry project.
Yep. Which was also a great album.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Brad Whitford and Derek St. Holmes, or as David would say, Derek Street Holmes, because he was a kid and he saw ST. But some of the songs, Jailbait, Lightning Strikes, which is what I'm about to talk about, Bitches Brew, Cry Me a River.
Bitches Brew is fucking dirty and awesome.
Yes, it is.
Love that
Yeah,
song.
Lightning Strikes is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Yep.
which is, I'm
Aerosmith.
sure.
And there are two places I'm going to go with this one. First of all, we did it with White Lightning. Just a fun fact, everybody. In the band, there is a man named Chris Sheridan, who also happens to be, is he the writer of Family Guy? And what is that other show?
He's one of the
Oh, that's
producers
right.
of
Yeah.
Family Guy and
that alien one.
Alien. Fuck, what's the name?
American
of it?
Dad?
No,
Oh,
it's
not the
the
same-
No,
alien.
it's about a
one.
guy that comes down from another planet and he, oh God.
Something alien. It doesn't.
I've seen
matter,
it, but yeah, I don't. I've seen
Yeah,
the
but
ad
your
for it.
dear
One-
beloved, our dear beloved brother,
Yes,
David.
which he's gonna get to.
Right. Okay.
but-
I don't want to.
So yeah, no, he was obviously the singer in the band, and David did a great job, and he didn't say when the lightning strikes. He said when white lightning strikes.
I love that. Yep.
Number 3 is to you.
All right. So let's see. Here's another one that I get to do on my own, and that is Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. Yeah. And this album is the one that I was telling you guys earlier today that I overlooked. I'm going back through Wikipedia, and I'm like, how the fuck did I miss this? I mean, you got Hellion into Electric Eye, right? One of my favorite Priest songs of all times is Bloodstone.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's such a great vocal. Halford's just fucking amazing. The way he sings the chorus is just such a hook to me. It's just fucking incredible. But you get another thing. You got another thing coming. I'd never need to hear again. But
I still love that one.
it was.
I am not
do
saturated.
too. I'm
I am not
really-
saturated on that one.
I know, nor am I.
But it's just the big hit from the album and fucking incredible record. That's all I'll say about it. But
An Electric Eye.
yeah,
I mean, listen to the lyrics of that from 1982,
and think about
and
now.
think of the world that we live in today, because the Electric Eye is always.
What do you mean, Echo? Alexa.
Sorry, Alexa.
So that song is basically about Big Brother watching us.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
Satellites
I'll have
in
to
the
listen to it.
sky.
Oh yeah.
Fucking crazy. So number 3 to you, Donald.
So going back to one that's already been picked a few times.
This is my fucking day. Isn't
Duran
it?
Duran.
Yeah, from the 2 spot.
The only thing I'm gonna say about this, I had it high up because Duran Duran was the '80s. I'm always like this reminded me of the '80s.
Awesome
It was a
shit.
sound, but I also want to for everyone out there, all the listeners.
All the listener.
This is the way you can tell if someone is AI generated or not. Like you start playing the music, and AJ, when you edit, throw in the "Hungry Like a Wolf." Dan it, dan it, dan it. if someone doesn't move to that song,
They're
then they're a fucking robot. Right?
Exactly.
Like Joe Biden at the Juneteenth celebration. He just stands there like everybody's
It's
dancing.
like
That's
Uncle
the
Ted
Blade
says.
Runner test to see if they're real or not.
If you
Ted
play
Nugent-
that song and you don't start moving around and dancing, then you're a robot.
You're
Like
a
Ted
robot.
Nugent says, if you're not having fun with Kiss, you need to have your
Right.
motor checked.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's my thing for society. Like, play that song. If someone doesn't tap their foot or start moving around,
Damn right.
then they're
Such a
you do
groove.
not need to hang out with that person because they have no soul whatsoever.
Exactly.
Pass.
All right. Number 2 to you, Kevin.
All right. My number 2 is one of Mark's picks. Absolutely. And really kind of struggled
You didn't look at my list.
where
You're
I
talking
put
about.
You've already listed. You stole all of the picks this week,
right.
Mark. You from the 2 seat.
Yeah, I know. You got lucky.
You
huh?
slayed us all. So I don't want to hear no more of the Batman shit from you. Because you stole my band. Anyway, Prince 1999,
Yes.
just an amazing album. I think it was his 5th album, the first one with The Revolution.
Yep.
The guy came out
Another
when
band,
he was
a nameless
another
band.
nameless band, but we kind of know the player because he talks about the players,
Right,
Wendy
right,
and Lisa and whatever else.
Right, the girls were
The girls, anyway. But just a fantastic album and a juggernaut. The guy was out. I mean, he started. I think there's an interview with Dick Clark on American Bandstand, and he's like 16, maybe 17.
Wow.
And one of his earlier albums,
And
that he done
already
by
a
himself.
ladies' man.
Oh, a ladies' man, as well as
How tall
he
was he?
played like 5 foot nothing. But he played every instrument on like the
Yeah,
first couple
super
albums by
musically
himself.
talented.
So talented.
And then the one that I absolutely, so I used to have this thing back in the day because, like we've talked about before, we were like AJ was forced at gunpoint to listen to Kiss and nothing but Kiss. Which, I mean, we didn't all have that same experience, but there was a machismo at the time that I listened to Van Halen, I listened to
Exactly.
I listened to Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and if I'm really feeling feminine, I'll bring out some Metallica, or whatever. I mean, that's so. I didn't. My friends didn't know I had Prince albums, but I didn't just buy Prince albums. I bought the EPs, or what used to be
Right.
a dance mix back then. And there's a song called "Let's Pretend We're Married." From 1999. And when you listen to the dance mix, I mean, the chorus was "Let's pretend we're married and go all night." I mean, I'm not even going to get into it because it's true Prince, and it was like, if my mom had heard that playing, it would have been all done for me.
you're
It was
done.
he did not. I think one of the lines was something I sincerely want to fuck the taste out of your mouth. And I was just like, holy shit! I mean,
great line.
But yeah, absolutely. But I would always kind of, because he had that funk and he had that sexiness and whatever else. So
Did you find him attractive?
anytime I had a female accompaniment, I would pull out those Prince EPs.
And hope you could
And
fuck the
believe
taste out
me-
of someone's mouth.
Believe me, he oozed enough sex out of that fucking record to help my ass out.
Oh yeah.
So, Donnie, do you remember I went down there, the whole thing down in Berkeley? I came down, postcard from New Hampshire.
Yep.
We had a 12-pack for 3 people, a 12-pack for 2 people, and 3 12-packs
Yeah.
for you and I. Well, there was a Prince act that was going on. when
Oh,
we
that's
were
right.
down-
In the cafeteria.
Yeah.
So at Berkeley College of Music, 150 Mass Ave, they had a cafeteria and they would have weekend shows
Yeah.
with students. There was.
You do
shows
remember
like
that?
Yeah.
And that guy's
We
like
had
freaking.
a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun.
Awesome.
Sexual chocolate.
My man, this is sexual chocolate.
Number 2 to you, Mark.
All right, I have Rush Signals.
Yeah,
Love
I knew
Rush.
you'd have that one.
Huh? You knew I would? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
with the,
I mean, this record, if you look at the videos, they are extremely nerdy at this point. But I absolutely love this.
At what point are they not?
I was asking. I
don't really-
love Rush, but show me a point where they weren't nerdy.
Well, they were quite nerdy at this point, But Subdivisions, what a great song.
Yeah.
Incredible song. You have Digital Man, New World Man. New World Man. Boom, bam, 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 bam. And one of the songs that really kind of I can relate to is called Losing It. It's a song about basically, at this point, If you look at some of his earlier stuff, Geddy Lee could sing. He look up Working Man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he's hitting these high notes.
high notes.
Super high notes.
So we're going to go to my number 2, which once again, Mark has already spoken about. And that is Michael Jackson's Thriller.
They told him, don't you ever come around here. Don't wanna see your face, you better disappear. The fire's in their eyes and their words are really clear. So beat it, just beat it.
Just this year, I mean, going back in time, the way this album took off and the MTV music videos for Beat It, Billie Jean, and Thriller, of course, which charted for I should have looked up how long, but just I think the greatest video ever made.
I gotta tell
Thriller,
you,
yeah.
I'm not like other boys.
And it was like
we can see that from here,
release,
Mike.
You know, it's like, come here at Friday at 9 o'clock. It's going to be the release, of the video.
Yeah.
And
It
then
was just
for like
incredible.
4 months after that, you couldn't get away from it.
Right.
As
Right.
great as it was, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I get
Yeah.
it. It's like
Right.
you'd see the beginning.
Right.
It's like, okay,
Right.
this thing's like 20 minutes long.
Yeah, there was like a movie part of it, and then the actual
song part of it.
Yeah.
And then like every dance routine since then has been some variation of
Oh God,
the Thriller
yeah.
dance
yeah,
in a video.
right. Yeah, that's your.
But like
flash
Mark
mob
talked about
go
too.
to.
Whoops, sorry, Don.
No.
Like Mark said, Eddie Van Halen doing the solo and Steve Lukather. Did I say it right? You got it.
You got it. Yeah.
And just incredible. And I'm not ashamed to say I loved it. We built a stage on Farmer Drive in Guilford in my backyard and used to air band this. All the lovely little ladies would come over and watch.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm 11, 12 years old. Oh, my God. Anyway, great friggin' times. Great times. So number 2 to you, Don.
Number 2 to me, and you've had it, is Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
Yes.
Amazing album. Probably one of my favorite albums. One of my favorite songs is Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Yes.
So, little story, history. There was a local band, Rocks, would play Hallowed Be Thy Name. They played it to the T.
Yeah, it was so
perfect.
Nice.
Scott Minery, I'm using his name out because he is an amazing singer.
Yes.
Guy was amazing. I was honored to be able to play with them in a band for a short period of time. I was way out of my league, wasn't close to being able to keep up with them. But that was like a great accomplishment for me, being like a teenager, watching these guys being like, oh my God, they're freaking awesome. They wail this, and playing with those guys for a short period of time. It was just a huge like uplift in me, because I always was like, I'm not good. I'm not a good guitar player, blah, blah, blah. And they took me in, and it was amazing. It was fun. And we played Hallowed Be Thy Name. And for me, that was like playing with a band, like playing with a famous band.
With a huge, with Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because,
Yep.
you know, the dude, if he ever listens, like you were
I
an
need to reach
amazing
out
singer.
to him and get him. I mean,
He could rock.
I was in touch not too long ago. I mean, that was probably 5 years now, but
Yesterday or last.
he also sang with Why Not briefly.
Oh, no
Do
shit.
you know
Yeah.
that?
Scott Minery did?
Yeah, just before they were breaking up. I don't
Yeah.
even know if they ever performed, but
I mean,
But
that's
they
like
hired him. Yep.
hidden talent. There's talent like hiding
So many,
everywhere in this
so many
world.
talented
like
people that never
yeah.
make it, unfortunately.
And, you know, he
was awesome.
He was amazing. Yeah.
great dude. Too.
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
awesome
yeah.
dude. All right, so we are at our number ones here, boys. So number one, you, Kev.
All right. Number 1, I'm going to ignore the fact that you all stole it from me, but I kind of changed things around to make this number 1 just because of the fact that it is the biggest album ever
Of all time.
But also the bookends, because I started with Toto and I'm ending with Thriller,
Yes.
which is again Steve Lukather. and the Porcaro brothers.
I like how you bring that all together.
We're tying it up in a nice little bow.
Little Seinfeld
But
thing.
yes, exactly. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to read the quote of what Michael Jackson's concept was for this album, because I think we will all 1000% agree. He said he wanted to create an album where, quote, every song was a killer. He was frustrated by albums that would have one good song and the next were like B-sides. Why can't every song be a hit? Why can't every song be so great that people would want to buy it if you could release it as a single? That was my purpose for the next album. And he went into that with that attitude, and he did exactly that.
Fucking nailed it.
Not my style of music. I mean, and I've always kind of wondered too, Quincy Jones had so much to do
he was the
with
producer.
producing it and what he did. And they kind of fought because Off the Wall from 79 was leaned hard into the disco stuff, and Quincy Jones was looking forward. He saw the attitude towards disco and wanted to move away from that. But like Billie Jean, the long intro, Quincy Jones wanted to cut that down, and Michael Jackson said, no, it makes me want to dance.
Yeah.
And he said, because he felt that's going to make people want to dance, you know, just like Hungry Like the Wolf, that kind of thing, where you're getting into it and yeah, so there's always a place for that funk, that groove, that tap in your foot, kind of thing.
Straight.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just again,
Awesome.
we've talked about it quite a bit, but one of the greatest albums ever.
Damn right.
Yeah.
You
Van
had it
Halen,
right, Don?
the whole-
It's my number
So,
one.
I think
all four of us have it.
yeah.
So I'm waiting for it. Yeah.
You have it. Yeah, next. All right, I'll shut up.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
All right. So here we go. Mark, we're going to go number one to you, which I know very much so.
Well, you know,
We
you're
both
talking
have
about
the same.
you're talking about songs that you just need to dance to. Well, this record is chock full of them. It's called Kiss, Creatures of the Night.
Yes.
What?
And
Why, if I had a podcast, I'd call it Preachers of the Night.
freaking incredible idea. Anyway, well, you know, we've talked about it ad nauseum on our sidecast. This is a situation where Kiss had lost their way, and if they just would have come up, I mean, I talked about it at the beginning of this one. If they just would have decided to do this kind of thing earlier, then maybe Ace Frehley never would have left. I mean, he probably would have driven into a wall somewhere, but other than that. But anyway, Ace is on the cover. Obviously, he did not play, even though it said guitars by Vinnie Corsano at the time and Ace Frehley on it. He did a couple promotional tours. He did, obviously, that incredible video that I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to let AJ talk about it. And he also did
How nice of you.
Creatures of the Night. He did one with them. I mean, he did one. I think it was was it in England or Europe or something? But,
Right.
But anyway, he did the interviews as if he was in the band, and you know, we knew.
They pulled the fucking wool over our eyes, is what they did.
AJ, we knew that wasn't Ace. I'm sorry.
Of course.
But, you know, the title track was incredible, and War Machine. So I'm going to let you finish this one.
Well, thank you, brother. So same thing, obviously, Creatures of the Night. And yes, for all you listeners out there, please do look at our little sidecast, which is under the same umbrella, Preachers of the Night.
Even when it's not raining.
If you see that, you will just know that is a Kiss cast, for now anyway. But anyway, this album is so fucking heavy. Just, you have Eric Carr being able to be himself finally, you know, after The Elder, when he was like, what the hell is this garbage? And he comes into Creatures and it's friggin' thunder. Produced by Michael James Jackson.
Not the
Speaking
same one
of
as Thriller.
Yeah. But anyway, just incredible, thunderous drumming from him throughout this album. Even on the ballad, I Still Love You. But just one thing that I've talked about in the sidecast, but some of you folks here on Pastimes haven't heard, and that is that video to I Love It Loud. This takes me back to I Love It Loud and the video in 1982, bringing me back to my, a shag carpet in my mother's living room, watching this on Night Flight or Radio 1990, whatever the show was.
Radio 1990.
Yes. And it just fucking brings me back into a certain place in my head that I will never forget, man. Just such an important album to me. Such an incredible album for the band, although they couldn't get arrested at this point. But yeah, and as far as Mark said, with, Ace being on all the posters and whatnot, just, they definitely did pull the wool over our eyes.
A very strange dynamic with the transition of personnel in the band.
Yes. Yeah. So for them to do that, just insane. All right, Donald, finish it off.
All right. So Creatures of the Night was, I left that off because I knew you two would pick it. Right?
Well, you could have picked it somewhere on the list, Donnie.
It's an amazing album, right? It was not on my radar in 1982, right?
Sure.
When I was growing up as a kid. But it came on my radar when I started hanging out with you guys.
Indeed.
And that's what's so beautiful about Friends, right?
Yes.
People like opening yourself up to new music and taking in something that you didn't know of. Like, hey, have you listened to this music? And, that's why it's like you don't want to live in a silo. You want to like open yourself up to everything.
Indeed.
So, in 1982, wasn't anywhere near my radar.
Well, good thing you had us to help you through life.
Right. And then I was like, yeah, this is freaking rocking. It's awesome. But my number one was Thriller.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, highest selling album of all time, of any albums. It was awesome. And that was 1982. That was what you saw, the Thriller video. It was like impactful at that time.
It was our lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we've talked about that, but I'd also like to say there was the alternate universe of the Weird Al Yankovic who did the, let's eat it. He made a lot of money off of that shit,
Damn right.
Smart dude,
Very smart.
That kind of stuff. So it was a lot of fun. Music's fun. Music brings people together. I'm getting a little like, I love you.
Yeah, but that's an amazing.
We're still growing with it.
Right.
Well, that's an amazing point that you just blew my mind, because when you think back about different genres of music that you opened up to, there's usually a person or a group of people that are associated with that. So every time you listen to that music, you think, oh, hey, that was so-and-so that got me into this.
Yeah.
So it's cool to make that connection.
Yeah. It brings you back to a time. It brings you back to
just
memory.
like I was saying with I Love It Loud.
Yeah.
Just how that's what's so important about this.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's why we're doing this podcast, people. I mean, I just get emotional, actually.
I love that.
Yeah.
We should listen to some of our.
But anyway, that's why we're doing this podcast, people, because we want to go back there. It's so fucking fun.
Cool. I wanted to bring back to David and he was memorialized in a cartoon.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes. In, it was prior to his passing.
Correct.
But David was in an episode of Family Guy.
Exactly.
I'll have to, in the future, I'll get it out there what the episode was. Or you know what?
This is an editing thing.
It, but
yeah. How you were saying
Chris Sheridan.
Chris Sheridan, like basically put David in as a character.
I remember that.
Yeah.
He was
David
in it for
told me.
about
Yeah,
2
so he's
seconds.
Immortalized, basically. David is immortalized
In cartoon. Yes, he is.
And that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was a lot of fun, guys. Great fucking list. And thank you out there all for listening. I can't thank you enough for the downloads we're seeing. So we know some of you are out there. Where our email is pasttimesat80shigh@gmail.com. And that's 80S for the 80s there. And we're going to get the website and social media going soon. But all of you boys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, AJ. That was
Yes.
great, man.
Kevin, thank you for hosting.
Always a pleasure.
Yes. And we are out.
been listening to Pastimes at 80s High. Our passion is the nostalgia from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. When times were more simple, times were more fun.
Hey, bud, let's party.
And we weren't stuck in our phones all day.
Inconceivable!
We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can send an email to pastimes@80shigh@gmail.com and hit the website at pastimes@80shigh.com. See you next time.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.